Let's talk about feminism. Thank you so much for tuning into my YouTube channel, #Movie Bae. I am Movie Bae, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a discussion review over one of Netflix's newest projects entitled Moxie, directed and produced by Amy Poehler. Now let's get into it. Moxie was originally a book that is written by Jennifer Mathieu and has recently been adapted into movie form for Netflix. Moxie is about a shy 16-year-old girl who gets inspired by her mother's rebellious past and decides to create an anonymous magazine that sparks a school-wide coming-of-age revolution after being fed up with the toxic masculinity at their school. Now real quick, let's run through the cast of this movie. The protagonist and main character of this movie is Vivian. Vivian is the shy 16-year-old girl, very introverted, kind of socially awkward, and she lives with her single mother, who we find out her father has remarried, so it's just those two in the house. She has a best friend named Claudia, who is also very socially awkward. There's a new girl at their school named Lucy, and she's very vocal and boisterous, and she don't put up with no shit, period. And more specifically, from the antagonist of this film and very cringeworthy sidekick, Mitchell, and his flunky. I don't even know his flunky's name. So the school idolizes this guy Mitchell, who is very sexist, very like the definition of toxic masculinity, privileged white guy. He has all the stereotypes, okay? And his behavior is just covered up by the school principal, who is played by Marcia Gay Harden, and she has the power to, no matter what role she plays in, gets on my goddamn nerves. So she's great at being a fucking bitch. And of course, there's a love interest in this movie entitled Seth. He's an amazing guy. So the movie begins with the first day of school, first day of 11th grade to be more specific, and we find out that every year the guys of the school have a rank list. Now this is not foreign to teen movies, to YA books, that there is always a rank list, and that list consists of things like best set of boobs, biggest butt, finest girl in the school, most bangable in this movie. And you get a sense of automatically the sexism, the objectification of women at this school, of young women at this school. And the girls are kind of, I don't want to say playing along with it, but it's become normal to them. It's now their new norm, so they're kind of like feeding into this behavior, and feeding into it is another way of condoning it. Over summer break, the kids were assigned to read the movie To read the book The Great Gatsby. I don't even think these kids read the Spark Notes over it. Come on, kids. If you ain't gonna read it, do Spark Notes. Watch the movie. Do something. The teacher asked Lucy about, you know, what she thought about the book. Now, the question that he posed was, we have to ask the question that must be asked no matter what form of media it is how are women represented in this book? I was confused, because I'm like, who asking that? And when has that became the standard go-to question? Not that it's a bad thing, it should be talked about, but where are they doing that at? So Lucy gives her a depiction of why are we even reading this book about a white privileged man who is just so distraught because he can't have the one thing in the world that he can't have, aka a woman. And Mitchell, the fucking asshole, interrupts her blatantly multiple times and downplays her opinion of the book. It's very cringy, but I feel like that's what they wanted, because I was so annoyed by this dude, baby. I could not be at this school, I tell you that much. After their disagreement, Mitchell runs into Lucy at the vending machine and further harasses her and asks why she's always defensive, and he like tries to like touch her, and it's like, back up my guy, because she's just not bowing down to him, that, you know, something that he's used to. She's actually standing up to his antics. He gets mad and takes the soda that she just paid for, opens it, spits in it, and gives it back to her. See, now, Now it's a problem. I would have took that can and threw it in his fucking face and then commenced to beat his ass. Don't play with me. I spent my dollar on this soda can. How dare you hawk a loogie in my soda and think that you good? I would have got put out of school. I would have had to transfer, because no, absolutely not. Vivian sees this happen to Lucy, and she's always watching from afar, which is one of my problems with the character Vivian. She always watches from afar. She never intervenes until it's too late. And then when she eventually does start the revolution, I feel like it was good to be anonymous, because some things should have a faceless revolution, you know? But she was shifty about being down for the cause, a cause that she started. It's like, if nobody else is going along with it, she didn't want to go along with it. Bitch, if you gonna be the leader of a revolution, if you gonna speak up, if you gonna start this, you need to be 100% committed. You can't, none of that, no time for that weak bitch shit. Like, get big. Vivian did run into Lucy, and she, you know, told her, just keep your head down and Mitch will leave you alone. And Lucy's like, baby girl, I'm gonna keep my head up high, okay, period. I shouldn't have to make myself small just so he can feel big. And that's just that on that. And when I tell you, Vivian's face looked so caring. Yes, I mean, she looked like, oh my gosh, like, what is her problem? Like, why can't she just relax? Like, she looked just like that. Like, I will insert a picture, because I took a picture of my TV screen, because her face had me rolling. At the school's pep rally, the rank for the girls of the school comes out. The new girl, Lucy, ends up getting the biggest CUNT award. And for white people, that's a huge insult. Lucy takes it to the principal. This is her second time going to the principal. The first time after Mitchell spit in her soda, she was like, this guy's harassing me. And the principal downplayed it. Oh my God, the principal got on my nerves. This lady gets on my nerves ever since I seen her in The Mist. I just cannot with her character. But the principal is just like downplaying all these, oh, he's harassing me. She's downplaying the list. Like, people should get reprimanded for those types of things. And she's not doing anything about it. When Vivian goes home, she talks to her mom or whatever, and she was like, hey, you always tell me to keep my head up high. Where is that from? So she gets inspired by some things that she finds going through her mom's old rebellious phases, where her mom shares that they did protests and things in their teens, they're burning their bras. We all know the stories. If you don't know the stories, the feminist movement back in the Gap, maybe in the 60s or 70s, burning their bras, more particularly were a sign of protest. And bras are just annoying. After she goes through her mom's thing, she decides to create the magazine, or a zine as they call it, entitled Moxie. And it's about female empowerment, addressing the sexism at their school. And in there they did a little list of Mitchell and his flunky, like, biggest asshole, biggest piece of shit. See, know what I would have done? I'm going to conduct my own ranking list, and it's going to be a list of degrading things to men, like worst hairline, weakest set of abs, smallest dick, lamest pickup game. Like, you wanna play that game? Baby, I have a list too. Most likely to become a rapist, you know. Let's play games. I'm gonna start with the cons that I had of this movie. I do wish that the movie had more, not necessarily character development, but I wish that the girls who initially joined the Moxie, like, they were literally in a little clique. It was probably like 5 or 6 girls. I wish that they had more scenes showing them genuinely bonding with each other. They did have a couple of meetings, but I felt like those meetings were kind of forced. Like, in one meeting they were like, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me, oh, this happened to me, and it wasn't organic. I felt like if they just had more scenes, and I'm pretty sure the book was more fleshed out with these characters actually creating a bond and becoming a group of friends, versus girls that had just all had the same experiences and were just down for the cause, because that's what it felt like in the movie. Another con that I had was some times the theme of the movie seemed forced. This is a movie about feminism, but sometimes it was so extra. Like, for instance, there's a dinner table scene. There's Vivian and her boyfriend Seth, who's amazing, and her mom and her mom's new boyfriend. Mom is setting the table, so it's just Vivian, her boyfriend, and mom's boyfriend at the table. Awkward silence. The mom's boyfriend says, so, you know, what's going on in teen world? How is school? Awkward silence. So Seth, Vivian's boyfriend, decides to say, hey, well, you know, school is school. I'm struggling with physics. And so mom's boyfriend was like, oh, physics, I hated physics too. And they just started talking about it. And Vivian's sitting there just all upset, like, oh, why aren't you talking to me about physics? Is it because women are less likely to major in STEM, to exceed in STEM subjects? And I was like, no, bitch. He's talking to Seth about physics because your ass was sitting there not saying shit. So things like that, were annoying. It's like, not everything is sexist. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes, like, read the room. Read the room. Like, he was talking to Seth because you weren't saying shit. Make it make sense. So that, like, little things like that happen at least twice in the movie. I know one of the other girls that was in Moxie was like, I tripped Peter the Pirate. Shout out to feminism. I was like, what the hell does tripping Peter the Pirate got to do with feminism? That boy broke his, whatever he broke. He broke something, like, you hurt him. That boy ain't did nothing to you. So little things like that, it's like, baby, that's not feminism. That now you're just going overboard. So, forced themes. And the last thing I didn't really like about this movie was sometimes it was a little uninteresting. Like the little date scene between Vivian and Seth. I was like, how did they end up in a funeral home? Too long of a scene. I don't care. It could be because I'm not a teenager. Now the pros about this movie. I think that for the most part, this movie did a good job without going over the top. I hate forced themes in movies, like I just spoke about, but a majority of this movie, everything was right on. A lot of it was very subtle, but still not over your head. Just like at the very beginning, how the girls are anticipating the list, and then when the list comes out, it's like, this is very objectifying. There's another thing about how male-dominated sports get chosen over female sports. In this movie, the football season was dominant over the girls' soccer team, and the football team sucked, and the girls' soccer team won championship last year. I forgot to mention the media coverage that was playing on the news while her mom was in the room. That was a nice add of detail. Other things I liked about this movie was the ways that the girls protested. Their first sign of protest was like, hey, if you stand with Moxie, write stars and hearts on your hands. I love that. At the very end of the movie, the teacher who was kind of just, I'm going to stay out of it. He showed his solidarity with the girls by putting stars and hearts on his hands. And there's a part in the movie where the topic of dress code comes up. And the principal comes and pulls a girl out of class for wearing spaghetti straps. But the girl next to her, who's also wearing spaghetti straps, gets to stay there. And that's because the girl, I think it was the same girl who was voted best rack, she was obviously well endowed. And the principal was like, who's a female? It's distracting. You have to come. Put a jacket on. You don't have a jacket? Well, I have to send you home. I can't show my shoulders because it's distracting. I can't show my cleavage because it's distracting. How about we teach young men not to objectify women, and especially in a very perverse way where you're staring at my boobs. If you're going to tell girls cover up, tell guys stop being fucking gross too. Another thing I liked is the end of this movie. Although I feel like it was kind of rushed, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, I like the rape storyline. Because this movie was kind of PG, and I didn't think it was going to go to that extent. But when it did, I was like, whoa, I bet you it was Mitchell. I was like, and I bet you it was, I believe her name was Emma, because she was kind of like lurking around the Moxie powwows, but she didn't want to get too involved, but she was interested. I was like, I bet you it's her, and I bet you Mitchell did it. And when she disclosed that she left the anonymous letter to Moxie, which ended up leading to the walkout because Vivian decided to write, I think it was Rape-a-Poor, like a twist on their school name, but put rape in the title. So after Emma, disclosed that she was raped by her then boyfriend on prom night last year, which makes no sense because how they both went to prom if they're both undergrads, like they not seniors, like they're seniors now. How did you, what? Anyways, but movie I said like was so PG that they brought that in. I was like, that's the perfect thing to tip the scale to be like, nah, we need to stop this right now. And finally, I think that this is a great movie, especially for the younger generation, Gen Z. When you put it in the media for the younger generation, it will change the stigma. And I say put it in the media because media has the biggest influence on people, period, as science. So I think this movie did a good job, and it's a good representation to put that message out there. Anyways, if I have to rate this movie, I'm going to give it a solid B. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and stay tuned for reviews just like this. And I guess I'll see you next time. It's the day. Just to let y'all know, feminism is defined for the equal rights for women. That's it. To be a feminist doesn't mean you hate men. And to be a feminist, if you're a male, doesn't mean you hate men. It just means that you acknowledge that women deserve equal rights as well. Okay? Let's not be ignorant no more. Let's educate ourselves, okay? And let's erase the stigma, the negative stigma that feminist has attached to it.